Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Sunday to join me. I really appreciate it. Whether or not you went to church, slept all day, worked a 12-hour shift, you are welcome here, and we want you here. This is an inclusive channel where we talk about nothing, and we hope that all of the people who watch these videos and share them and like them also appreciate the concept of just nothing, of just vlogging, old school, no video, sort of pop ins, nothing at all, just some bad lighting, and this guy with the big nose and these really weird glasses just talking about nothing. I really appreciate you. You know what I mean? So tonight, let's jump right into our topic. I want to talk about social capitalism. Okay, so here's the thing. I have publicly identified on the channel before. Just scroll on down and you'll find it pretty quickly here. There's a catalog of close to 400 videos on the channel now. But one of those videos, I came out and decided to publicly announce that I was a social capitalist, And here's the thing, as we continue pushing an agenda forward for people in search of a different kind of ideology as it concerns their political beliefs, that are driven socioeconomically, of course, I want to continue with the conversation of social capitalism and to be just as refining as possible as we move towards the future in actually, making it a valid ideology as it concerns politics and, again, socioeconomic living. So, being a social capitalist, we'll start with the capitalism part of social capitalist because I feel like that's a little bit more, it's a little easier for people to absorb before I get into the socialist aspects of the things that I believe in as my political ideologies, right? So, what do I believe in? I'm going to cherry pick here, right, in terms of what kinds of ideas that I find value in as they concern capitalism. I appreciate the free market and competition, right? If there's no monopolies and if there isn't mass manipulation and or collusion from government and private companies, then ideally speaking, the environment should be pretty ripe for there to be a good economy in that you don't have either the monopolies or the manipulation of the markets that currently take place with just a handful of corporations. And so to say that we live in a truly capitalistic society here in America is false, right? I would arguably, demonstratively, that's false. It's just not true. In some areas of industry, it's true, but as even we see with big tech, it's really hard to start a tech company and not be bought out by one of the really big companies. And again, that's no shame on them. Shout out to YouTube. I really obviously love YouTube. I've been a fan of YouTube for more than 20 years. So I've, again, put in my time on the platform as a consumer, understanding that, I do believe in some kinds of capitalistic kinds of things. I believe in the right to personal property. I believe, so these are some of the core concepts of capitalism that I appreciate, right? Is the direct competition, real competition, is the freedom of choice, right? And the idea that if you do something better, you make it better, you will in fact be rewarded for that. I like that. In relatively easy speaking, simple terms, that's pretty good incentive to participate in an economy as a citizen or as a constituent because the rewards can be pretty good, but we don't live in a market where the rewards are pretty good for everybody, and in fact it's skewed in a way that it's only good for a few people. And again, when we create more inequality than equality in a capitalistic world, that is indicative of totalitarianism. Like that's not free market behavior, that's not capitalist behavior. And so that's what, some of the things I'll take away from capitalism. As a social capitalist, I find it very important that we all believe in some common foundations of what we believe to be entitlements that every person should receive as an adult and from birth to death, right? And some of these things are free healthcare, free education, and free housing. Again, so free healthcare in that, yes, we need a healthcare system that is nationalized and that is a hybrid in a kind of a way that offers low copays for high cost medical procedures and or medications, but such a small amount and based on income. Instead of like, I'm going to charge you hundreds of dollars for your medication because you're old and you need it and your doctor prescribed it to you, and you don't even make that much money, but I want all of it, or you're not going to be able to live. Like, we need to get away from that, right? Because that impacts all of us, and all of us aren't millionaires who can afford the best and highest quality of healthcare that is available if you have the money here, especially in the United States of America. That's a fact. You know what I mean? I mean, rich people aren't going to Mexico for their medical care. That's no slight on Mexico, more so as that it is a need that's filled because the middle class of America can't, and or lower class, the ever shrinking middle class, cannot afford basic medical procedures like dental care or, plastic surgery even. I mean, yeah, I even said that. Like, why go down to Mexico City and get plastic surgery when you could just get it down the street? Like, and most people are going to say because it costs less money and, but the risks of traveling internationally just to get some plastic surgery or dental implants is far beyond any sort of financial incentive that you can save money from, I would argue, in that regard. So Americans need free healthcare. Americans need free education as well. I mean, we live in a world where post-secondary institutions have billion-dollar endowments and yet raise tuition every single year only so that graduating classes can go into markets that aren't going to offer them any real meaningful jobs. So instead, now college is selling you the idea that you need a master's degree to actually get a good job. Well, let me tell you something. As a first generation college student, you know what I mean? It's awfully difficult to break that barrier. First of all, to be the first person to graduate from high school, to be the first person to get into colleges, many different colleges accepted, all of these things, it's different, right? Like, you're going to be burdened with all kinds of debt. You obviously don't have the kind of generational wealth that's required to keep up with these student loan payments. There have been people so free education is really important. Again, that's not to say that we can't have a hybrid system like we already do, in which private colleges exist and you can go to them if you can afford them and so forth. But state-run universities should be available to state citizens at no cost to them because they support that university with their tax dollars. So to say that they can't have access to the education provided there within is messed up. Seriously, raise taxes a little bit on those of us that earn the highest, and there's your money to pay for education for all of the lowest earners. This is how we must do things in America. Free housing. So this concept is going to be lost between a lot of people, and I feel bad for those people because all I mean by free housing is a voucher from the government that allows you to pay rent and only rent. So if the government were willing to give you $1,000 a month to go towards your rent or mortgage, that's a good thing. That's a real good thing. You're moving money, it can only be paid for rent. You don't have to worry about rent. Taxes are already high, especially on the lowest earners. So you can take home more of the money that you earn, all while not worrying about where your rent is going to come from. So yeah, I believe in government vouchers for everyone. Not just elderly, not just disabled, not just people, for everyone. And that's the only way it's going to work, is you can't just offer all of these programs to low-income people. That it defeats the whole purpose. The lowest income earners need it the most, but wouldn't you be a fool to say that you wouldn't also like it too? Wouldn't it be nice to keep a little bit more of your hard-earned money to spend on things like your family, or to even consider, having a family? Because I know most of my peers are so drowned in debt that we're not even thinking about starting families because of our debt. And again, how much can a human life possibly be worth if we're so saddled with debt that we can't even consider, our own motives in how creating children and having a family is far beyond any kind of value that money can ever provide to any single sentient human being on this planet, from the richest of us to the poorest of us. You know what I mean? And so again, I just think that social capitalism is an idea that should be talked about, that should be mainstream. I don't want it related to Republicans or Democrats, because both Republicans and Democrats are busy doing crazy things. Seriously. And I mean that with all due respect. But you got a Democratic Party who is, I mean, who knows where they are? I mean, seriously. They've yet to offer even a good solution and or alternative to this guy who's about to become president again, right? And who's now has the support of Hulk Hogan and Dana White, you know. I mean, again, for those of us that say we aren't happy with what Biden's doing and or how Donald Trump performed, we sure aren't acting like it, you know, because we are literally about to repeat history and put this man back in office again as a Republican. And as a Republican, furthermore, who has more power on an executive level than any president in modern history will have had come 2024 at the end of this year, because of the recent Supreme Court rulings about amnesty provided to presidents and so forth. You know, so I don't know where we stand on all of this, guys. I just know that social capitalism is a replacement idea for, again, the best of both ideas. Socialism in itself cannot work. We've seen this time. Capitalism in itself cannot work. We're currently going through this period of the modern age. So there's got to be a new flexible hybrid model to save this country economically for the future. Because I get it. Right now things aren't that bad. But you know, guys, we have a lot of competition in the world. Like, and this is not in any kind of a way meant like I don't, you know, like, forget all the Cold War, forget all the bad stuff. I'm talking about real competition. I'm talking about people putting up real numbers when it comes to GDP as it concerns their manufacturing, their sustainability, their emissions. I mean, you know, you got China, you got Russia, you got India, you've got Europe. I mean, different parts of Europe that are growing faster. You've got Africa, the whole continent. I mean, we are in a period of mass growth on this planet. You feel me? So it's real important that, like, also while trying not to blow each other up, we actually consider the future and how we are going to be able to best effectively coordinate a government that is going to be global, whether we like it or not. And that should be global when the time comes appropriate. And furthermore, should be no borders. And I've made this argument before on the channel before too, as it concerns no borders. You know, if we had no border restrictions throughout the world, the the market economy itself would generate close to $80 trillion in 1 year just from opening our borders. So again, I'm not talking here because I feel like I'm the person that has the solutions and these are, you know, like special magical things that I've thought up. No. We can all see these things pretty clearly. We all can feel these things. We all participate in the American modern world. So you know what I'm talking about. And I think that's where I'm trying to, you know, like really get with y'all on that, is like we're on the same team. You feel me? And again, it's just you want people, we want people to have more rights and or more access to basic services that all of us want people to have to be a human being. You know, like seriously. I hope that you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks again for joining the channel. We're now 14 minutes into this video, so if you've made it this far, definitely consider subscribing. We make 4 streams a day, and I really appreciate your time, okay? Social capitalism. Yeah, it's a thing. I want it to be a thing, and for nothing more other than another place at the table to have a meaningful conversation that can bring about actual change in a good way for many, many, many people that deserve it, okay? Seriously. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Bye.